Hello guys. First of all, I would like to thank people that purchase my assets so much. That means a lot to me. And I receive a few requests on how to add it to the FPS template and this tutorial for those guys. Uh, First, go to the execution folder and look for the blueprint character that I have there. We have event on begin play and also on the event possessed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this, go to base character blueprint, and just paste what I have. To save some space, collapse nodes, and call this execution. Go in here, and make sure you add your execution component. Replace the sprint arm with the camera boom, the camera with the follow camera, and the enemy. Just create the variable and make sure you change this to base character blueprint, not the controller, the character. Change the variable. Okay, go back, connect the input, fix up the enemy, and that's it. Now here, add a sequence and connect this. Now we need to copy this event and look for event access here. Pull this up all the way, paste this, and we're gonna add a sequence again. But we don't break anything on the FPS template. Alright, perfect. And make sure the controller. Compile. Okay. Now we're gonna copy the action input, and I'm gonna just call in the C input. Alright. So the way the FPS works setup is you have the use controller rotation is true. So we're gonna have to set that to false in order for the component to rotate the enemy and the attacker together to sync the animation. So we're gonna have to make a custom event, and this needs to be replicated. So we're gonna call it rotation, just to simplify thing. This is gonna be a multicast, and what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna add parameter. I'm gonna call pawn, and here I'm gonna call it enemy, and I'm gonna add another one. This time it's a boolean. Sorry, I'm gonna call it enemy controller rotation, and another one is gonna be attacker controller rotation. So if the enemy is valid, we want to set use controller rotation, and this is for the enemy and this one for the attacker. Use controller rotation. This, connect this. Alright, now we need to add custom event, call it rotation server, and here we're gonna call rotation. Oh god. Okay. Enemy rotation. Attacker rotation. Alright. So before the execution is fired up, we need to call the rotation. Not this one. The server. And since they are true, we have to keep them false. We have to make sure they're false. And we need to call execution. Call an enemy. Get the enemy. Connect to the enemy. Alright, so that's the first setup for this template. Now the customization is we're using arms. If you have animation for the arms, then you're fine. You don't need to switch to third person. In my case, I don't have animation for the arms, so I'm gonna switch from first person to third person, play the execution, and switch back to the arms. So this is a little bit more longer way, but in my case I have to do it. So I'm gonna make a custom event, and I'm gonna call it switch 3p. And here, if you want to see how we work, so if you go to details and type in C, so the mesh, the full body mesh, set to owner no see. The owner will not see the mesh, while the arms is set to only owner see, meaning other players cannot see this, but the player will see it because it's false here. So what I'm gonna do is gonna call the mesh, and I'm gonna type in C, and what I want to do is switch this to false, meaning the owner will see it. It says owner no see mesh, so we're gonna call this, we're gonna keep it false, and then here we're gonna set owner no see. The owner should not see the arms, so we're gonna call again C and set owner no see for the arms, and we want to set this to true. Now the way to switch this to the default after the execution is fired, I have a variable that's gonna help us to do that. It's called delay apply damage. So get delay to apply damage. And what it does, this is a damage when you want to apply the damage during the execution, and usually at the end of your execution. To add more time, you just need to add a float. Just add whatever number you want here, and this is going to be at the end to adjust things to look good. So here you want to call it delay. So once the delay is done, then we want to switch back everything to default, meaning the mesh, the owner should not see it, and the arms, the owner should see it. That's how it works. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this, the rotation at the end of all this, we're gonna set it as well to the default, meaning we want the rotation to be true. The enemy doesn't matter, you're gonna be dead anyways, but the attacker, make sure it's true. Alright, and here to actually call this event, we want to play it at the same time with the execution, not before or after, but at the same time. So we have to call a sequence and switch 3p par. Alright, so the whole setup is done for the first person template. Create a comment. Execution. God. Terrible. Alright, so now we have to prep our animation. So I have a set twin daggers. They got some cool uh, execution with knife. I totally recommend it. So I'm gonna use execution from behind, where I slaughter him. So all you have to do is retarget. You don't worry about setting up your skeleton. We are using the default skeleton. Just uncheck this and choose the FPS full body mesh. Select your folder and retarget. Alright, so make sure you enable the root motion for both. Okay, and select them both and create a new montage. Save. Now go to the attacker and you're gonna see there is plenty of time left after the execution. Look at that. So we don't need that. We just need to play the animation, execute him, and done. So this is 1.7. So we're gonna go here, end time 1.7. So now play the animation and we're done. Okay, go to base character, go to mesh and in blueprint, and here we want to add default slot. Make sure in the anim graph you play default slot, otherwise your montage is not gonna play. Alright, save all. Now go back to the anim and we're gonna go to the execution component, the attacker, sorry that's the victim, and the attacker, compile and save. Uh, if we click on mesh, uh, let's go to the collisions. So here camera is ignore, visibility is block. So just click on the execution so we can open up the component. Check enemy. I'm using the camera. Switch it to visibility. Go to execution damage and here change it to knife. And here just increase the capsule size. 60. Compile and done with this. Clean up this. Don't need this. Alright, so go back to the execution. Since we are using the first person arms, we don't need default sprint. Should be all 0 at 0, 0, 0, 0. And okay, let's go step by step. So we set the animation, the distance. Let's type in 100 for this. This is how much the distance between you, the attacker, and the enemy. 100. This is gonna help you to apply damage only on enemies, so you have to set it to, with your code and put it. Basically, you just have to make sure you set it in here or any event on your blueprint. Execution from behind, yes, in our case it's from behind. This means that your enemy will always face you, face the opposite or the same direction as you to make things simple. He will give you his back no matter where you are. F-stop, this is if you want to have depth of field. If you want to use it, yes or no. Execution damage 100. Delay to apply damage. Okay, to get the delay apply damage, just click on the victim animation and see where he received damage. So right there, I will say about there, 0.7. So here you just type in delay 0.7. Alright, and how far you can execute, 400. Use the cinematic camera, I'll say yes because I want to switch back from third person to first person. So the camera one position is gonna be 350 and 200. When to fire the second position, I'll say 05 and this is 00. Okay. Next step here, probably I'll do 1.5 to add more time before we switch to first person. And let's give it a test. So change your game mode to deathmatch so you can kill the other player, otherwise he's your teammate, he gonna fall but no damage applied to him. That's why I told you you need to set up the is enemy right here. So this is by default set to true. So what you have to do is get your code when you check is an enemy and use that to set it to true. And then it will only apply this execution on an enemy. Right now it consider everybody is an enemy, if that makes any sense. Alright, so now let's test it. Okay, so okay, let's go play on the server. Okay, so as you can see, we didn't hide the weapon. Okay, that's good as an example. So here, what it says, the arms, we're gonna call current weapon. And FPP if I'm right. And just connect it to here. So now it's hidden and we wanna call it back so we can see it when we switch to first person. Compile. Alright, let's give it a try. He's here. Okay, I think I set a huge number on the first camera. 3,500, that's why. God. This should be 350. We'll almost travel back in time. Alright, let's go get him. He's here. Bam! It's done. Alright guys, I hope you liked the tutorial. If you have any more question, please feel free to message me or ask me on my Discord channel. And if there is anything I can do, I will be pleased to help you out. Thank you for watching.